overcast, but I can feel the humidity growing, I guess. You know, it's a little bit warmer, but there's a breeze. Taking a little breather. I walk up 17th Street. They've had barricades and security at Sofitel, and Chez Calais is on the side. It's the restaurant inside Sofitel. So my guess is it has to do with the World Cup soccer. FIFA is in town. Technically, Philadelphia is host next year for World Cup. I guess they're having kickoff games here this year for some. I don't remember this in the past being a Philadelphia thing at all. But maybe I just wasn't aware of World Cup for some reason. I looked it up. You know, Philadelphia won the bid for 2026 being the host of World Cup soccer. This year, I don't know if a different U.S. city is like the big host, and then other cities will have a few kickoff games. It's a little bit confusing because there's been a lot of people parading around, you know, getting all excited about whatever games have gone off here already, or I don't know. So it's a little confusing. I'm like, since when was 2025 a big year for World Cup in Philadelphia? So anyway, but for sure 2026 is supposed to be the big year. It's after school. Kids last day I think was this past Friday, so this will be the first week that people are off, that kids are off and they can enjoy summer. Sometimes that brings people out to the city. Often though, it'll get really quiet in the city at some point because people go to the beach or they find other things to do, and you know, not as many people traipse into the city for school or what have you. Or there's university students and they go away for the summer and they either go back home or they go to the beach, you know. Typically it gets quieter in the city during summer, unless there's a special thing like Welcome America is 4th of July. And there's all kinds of events leading up to that day. In fact, I just read about a block party. They might have it every year, but for some reason it stood out this year on Broad Street, which will be on Saturday, this coming Saturday. It's Wednesday, so the 21st. Then on the 22nd they have another block party, which is down at the stadiums. So then they have free hoagie day, like Hoagie Fest or what have you, and that's on the 26th, and that's always at Independence Mall. Down that way. Often I cross the street on this block. I can't stand shops at Liberty Place because they have all these bay windows and it's just constant, you know, reflective surfaces on the windows. Meaning every time you walk past the bay window, all you see is like reflections of yourself. So let's cross over here. And it starts to get annoying. It's almost like a demonic game, to be honest. It's hard to explain why I think that, but some people can go through a whole day and never pay attention. It just like doesn't come across their eyesight to see the reflection in every glass window. In other cases, it's too much. You know, it's almost like if there were an ocular society that could force imagery into your brain, whether it's accurate or not, you could be under attack spiritually or from what I call the Ocular Society. The Surveillance Society would be an offshoot of the Ocular Society. Hard to explain. So say like normally you don't pay attention, you don't notice things as much, all of a sudden you're like too aware. And it becomes like a weird demonic game, as if some sort of dark entity needed to keep keep you in the mindset of being overly self-conscious, overly self-aware, maybe even hating yourself. I actually think these things can go on in my AO. So that's that. So of course, if you're carrying around a camera, it becomes a little bit more of a thing that becomes noticeable. Once you're sort of behind a camera, if you will, you learn a whole bunch of new tricks. Like, I know how to walk around the city and avoid as many, you know, upsets as possible in terms of reflections or shadows or light situations. And in a normal life, you wouldn't know that kind of stuff. And I'm not a cinema person. I don't know anything about cameras. I still don't know much about regular cameras. I just know that with the GoPro and walking around, what I need to do to stay sane and not be angry all day long. Other than other forces at play, monster energy, which I wanted to bring up. And I would learn this kind of through Jamie O'Brien, oddly enough. In Hawaii, he and his girlfriend, Cohen, I always forget her first name, Tina. And somehow, they're surfers in Hawaii and live that kind of life, you know what I mean? And somewhere along the line, the term monster energy came up, and I'm thinking monster drinks, right? But I realized it's a way to describe, like, something's going on that agitates people too much. You could be like a totally awesome, usually positive person, or at least you try to be positive, and so forth and so on. But it kind of doesn't matter if you sort of wind up in the way of monster energy. Like in Hawaii, they see it as a big thing. We're not going out on the big waves today because I heard there's monster energy out there. They would know, lay low, you know, save your life. You don't want to take on big waves or what have you in case the monster energy finds you. And it's another way of kind of sounding religious. Like, you know, it almost does sound satanic, but what if there's energy out there that's, you know, the dark forces, you know, the dark side of life that needs to focus on population control and actually kill people off? Like, say that we're actually real. Like, most of us grow up logically, maybe with certain types of education. It's like, no, 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 no. But if you see too many things happen and it doesn't make sense, then you're like, what is it? What is it? Or if you get angry and you can't figure out what's making you angry, and you're like, why am I feeling something, something today? It could be that monster energy is on the airwaves, out there, looking to attack. You know what I mean? So, in a way, something to be aware of in these prescient times, if you will. Maybe it's a sign of the times. Maybe there's other things going on, that maybe ancient things have come through. Maybe it's a modern thing. Maybe there's too many electronic devices. You know, old school people would say there's so many electronic devices that we're wondering if people can hone in and really shoot people with, you know, dark forces, if you will.